Welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Carl Higbee. So GoFundMe supported the Chaz Chop zones, the anarchists that took over like 8 city blocks, including a police station and all that stuff. They also provided numerous fundraising pages for Black Lives Matter to bail out criminals who burnt the cities to the ground. And now they've decided that they're the new purveyors of morality and decency in America's attic, which is Canada. For more on this, let's talk about it with reporter from the Daily Caller, Brianna Lyman. Brianna, you've been following stuff like this. They took down a $10 million fundraising page for a bunch of truckers that are out there shoveling sidewalks for their community, purchasing stuff from local business. They're bad guys, though, right?
Yeah, the sheer hypocrisy with which GoFundMe operates it's rather risible, because you think about the fact that they were the same platform that actually campaigned for people to donate to Chop and Chaz, right? The place where 3 people were fatally shot. Several people were shot and injured, mind you. Tons of people were injured from other reasons, and businesses had to shut down because it wasn't safe. They had to hire private security. But suddenly GoFundMe wants to take the moral stance because there are truckers who are now being accused of racism by the Ottawa Police Department with no evidence. And this isn't the first time, though, that GoFundMe has allowed these types of organizations to fundraise on their platform. I'm thinking of the Riot Kitchen Fund, right? I mean, this is a group of individuals who are supposed to be feeding protesters, and yet federal authorities arrested several of their volunteers, and they found helmets, they found riot gear, they found protective vests, illegal fireworks. If you're feeding people, you don't need those items. And it was enough to raise the suspicions of federal authorities, but not enough to raise GoFundMe's suspicions, right? This is the same organization that allowed the PDX protest bail fund. It raised about $1.3 million to bail out people who were arrested for things like misdemeanors, felony burglary, felony assault, interfering with a police officer. So the bottom line here is that GoFundMe has no problem allowing Black Lives Matter, Antifa, domestic terrorists, but oh my God, you better draw that line at those truckers.
Yeah, because they're dangerous. And so basically what they said, Brianna, is we're gonna cut this off. I think they had raised about $10 million. They are allowing people who donated to fill out a form to get their money back. But what are they going to do with this money? They're not giving it to the truckers. Who are they giving it to?
Right. So actually what originally had happened was we're going to disperse it to charities, right? I mean, this is
charities of their choice.
Credible charities.
Black Lives Matter, maybe.
Probably. Maybe the Riot Food Kitchen. I mean, that's another option. It's still an active page that you can donate to if you'd like.
You cannot make this stuff up.
You can't, honestly. I mean, this is government-sanctioned appropriation of private citizens' funding who are funding opposition. And had it not been for people like Governor Ron DeSantis and other Republicans who have stepped up and said what's going on, GoFundMe would have given it to these charities. Now people are just going to get an automatic refund, and people can now go donate to these truckers on other platforms. But at what point do we take a step back and say, oh my God, we have GoFundMe colluding with the government to steal resources from private citizens?
Yeah. It is shocking to me that we're sitting here having this conversation. And the whole thing, by the way, these truckers are all just there because they don't want to put something in their body that they don't want to. That makes them really bad people, right?
Right, and the other thing too is that this is quite literally a working class revolution. This is exactly what these leftists have been calling for years, right? They want the working class people to rise up against the government, and as soon as they do it, it doesn't work for them. And the reason being is because the left doesn't care about the working class, right? It was never about the working class. It was about leftist elite controlling the thought ideology that permeates society every single day, right? And now you have these truckers who are standing up. They don't want vaccine mandates. They don't want these restrictions. They are working class, and their interests are not represented by these left-leaning politicians.
But the left makes people think that they're for the working class.
Right.
And so I just want to go on. There's other fundraising platforms, obviously, besides GoFundMe. Are there any platforms that allow people, like truckers to go and raise money, and then they don't decide, well, you may be violent, so we're going to pull you? Is there any options for them?
Yeah, I believe people are using, I think it's a Christian platform, Go Send Go right now.
Give Send Go.
Give Send Go. I'm sorry, Give Send Go. And that is what people have to turn to. But that comes back to that old adage, right? Create your own GoFundMe, create your own Twitter, create your own Google, right? Yeah. At what point do people say, I can't create my own, and I need to use the platforms available?
Well, that's funny because, you talk about that. Parler did that, and they were wiped off the face of the earth by the people that they have to rely on. You've had some thought leaders out there like Dan Bongino, who's literally started an entirely parallel economy. Now he's been criticized by the left, saying, oh, this guy's outrageous. He just wants racism and perpetuate this. But the problem is I don't trust places like Spotify now. I don't trust GoFundMe. I don't trust Facebook because at a moment's notice, I could vanish from their platform. So why would I build a platform enriching them on their terms.
Right. There's no incentive to do that. But at some point, conservatives must take a stand. I bring it back to Ron DeSantis, right? It is up to people like Ron DeSantis to take a stand against GoFundMe. And it's up for conservatives, everyday conservatives, to say enough is enough. Because if you let these left-leaning politicians, they're just testing the waters, right? They're trying to see how heavy can they rest their foot on conservatives before they face backlash. And it's ironic because these truckers are there to protest tyranny. And what are they met with? They're met with more tyranny.
Which is, it's scary because I think the truckers had posts on Facebook and they were taken down. And so for people that go on social media and they expect to get their news from there, but if things are being censored, if people aren't seeing, they're only seeing one side, and then they're believing that one side because others are being censored. And you brought up a good point, Ron DeSantis, coming in and doing that. What else can people do? Because if you're pushed off a platform or if you put something out there and then it's censored, how do we get this to change?
I think that comes down to, honestly, there's things like Getter, there's things like, conservatives still use Twitter, right? And you have to stay on those platforms. You can't just walk away because they're censoring people, right? Because that's what they want. They want people to walk away. You have to stay. You have to stand your ground. That is part of this new cultural revolution that conservatives must be a part of.
Yeah. Well, I will say, their bias is clearly showing here, but Benny Johnson put up on Twitter, look at this, the GoFundMe page that they did on Wikipedia. It is absolutely, Wikipedia, you can go on and change stuff. It said the American for-profit crowdfunding that allows liberals to raise money for liberal causes and shut down free speech or steal money from people who actually have souls. Now, these companies are even aware of their public perception. At all, do they even understand that people are laughing at them?
No, not at all, because you have the Justin Trudeau, you have the Ottawa Police Department applauding GoFundMe, and GoFundMe is like, yeah, I got that pat on the back. This is a great time for me. And the problem is that without enough people being outspoken about it, you have people bowing down to the woke mob. You mentioned Spotify. I think of The Rock right now with Joe Rogan. As soon as they have a little pushback, people bow down, and that is exactly what these left-leaning politicians want.
Yeah, well, I know we're going to be talking about this over and over again. Hopefully
when
not.
The California trucker convoy comes.
Exactly. Brianna, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And there's plenty more to come on Wake Up America Weekend. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Liberty-loving American takes on Washington, Hollywood, and the whole media establishment. He's Chris Salcedo. Join